trying to date after you transcend your ego feels almost impossible because you're basically walking around already in love, already awake to the fact that you are the thing that you're looking for, and that love is not something you will ever find outside of you in relationships, in money, in material possessions, in status, titles, accolades. It becomes almost impossible to date. I say this because when you meet somebody who is still stuck playing that game, you're on two completely different wavelengths. Literally. You are not operating at the same state of consciousness. So while the other person is all like, I have to appear this way and I have to present myself this way and I have to make sure that, I'm worthy enough, I'm lovable enough, I'm hot enough, I'm this enough, I'm that enough. To the person who's actually awake and no longer operating from the place of ego consciousness, right? Let's say it's me, for example. I'll just sit there and I'm like, honey, what are you doing? You don't need to do this performance for me. So it's a fundamental incompatibility because once you awake, I don't think you can really be with somebody who is asleep. It just doesn't work. It's like you need somebody who's at a similar state of consciousness, right? Because what is love? This is where the whole love thing and ego thing comes together for me, right? Love is egolessness. Love happens when you transcend the ego. Why do they say God is love, right? Why do they say the heart of Christ and this Christ bearing the compassion of all of humanity? Because he felt the suffering of all of humanity. He felt the pain of the ego that drives the human to do all of the atrocious, evil, horrific, and insecure things that humans do. And it's all driven out of ego. War is driven out of ego. Conflict is driven out of ego. Everything that separates me from you is ego. Anything that creates duality between subject and object tends to form ego, because now I am in conflict with you, or this country is in conflict with that country. But love is the unitive state, right? Love is when you transcend duality and you realize there's only one. Welcome to Reality Architecture, episode number 1. I'm your host, Cyrus Yang, and I'm excited to start this series about creating your own reality. And we're going to talk about a lot of topics. It's going to be fucking broad. This is something I have been wanting to doing for all of my life, but I just all of my self-limiting beliefs about who am I to talk about this? All the stories you see I told myself of how, again, this ties back to the love thing, how I'm unworthy, how I'm not good enough, how I can't do this because what qualifies me and who will listen to me, and self-victimization and feeling sorry for myself. Right? We already got off to a really hot start here. Right? We're talking about love today. We're going to talk about love and ego today. And in that intro you just heard, I think sums up a lot of it. I'm 24, and I struggle to relate with people my own age. I just operate at a different frequency, and I have not had the opportunity to find, at least in real life, right? And I hope through building this that I attract like-minded or different-minded people because I like being challenged, right? Who is right and who is wrong? Who is ever to say? Opinions are like buttholes, right? Anyways, in my own real life, I've always felt very isolated, right, from the world and from people my own age, because I simply don't think like them. I simply don't operate like them. You know, once you see through too much, once you see too deeply into reality and how human psychology works, it's like you see through the game. While people are still playing the game, right? The chief one being dating, right? Let's talk about dating. Let's talk about love. You know, this young people trying to find love and right. What I'm here to tell you is, if you are looking for love, there's a shortcut to finding love. And that shortcut is to find love within yourself. And now, I know you've probably heard some version of that 1,000 and 1,000,000 times, right? But I want to convey this in a way that maybe I'll share my own personal stories, right? About how I used to be someone who spent all of my time and energy really looking for, whether it was money, whether it was a degree, whether it was some job to get or some program to get into or some accolade to achieve. At the end of the day, what I was looking for was love. I wanted to be validated. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to feel good enough, feel worthy, right? And you quickly realize, once you start to step away from being so attached to your own insecurities, you start to see very deeply at a fundamental level how everything that you have done up until that point in your life has been driven by fear. By the fear that you're not good enough. By the fear that if you don't have enough money, if you don't date a attractive enough partner, if you don't have a certain job or live in a certain part of town or this, you realize everything, 95% of what people strive to do, or you could argue even more, right? I'll be conservative and say 95 of what people do in life is driven by fear, right? Because we fear that if we do not get the thing, if we do not accomplish our desire, if we do not, attain whatever I just said, then it almost feels like it's the end of our lives. It's the end of the world, It's just like the stock market, right? Everybody, fear and greed. The stock market is run on two emotions, a spectrum of two emotions, right? Fear and greed. People are entirely controlled by their emotions, and that is because they lack the skill of metacognition, right? Now it's becoming a popular scientific term nowadays, this term metacognition. But I'm going to tell you right now, metacognition is the exact same thing as self-awareness, as mindfulness. Metacognition is the exact same thing as mindfulness, meditation, self-awareness. The ancients have been talking about this for 3,000 years. Science just repackages it and then offers it as a new, oh my God, revolutionary discovery. And then the news, 5-10 years down the line, all the news, the clickbait catches up, and right? The forefront of discovery, for wisdom at least, we have always had it, except most people are too, pardon my harshness, too stupid to realize. Majority of the answers you're looking for in life already exist. But you have to find them, right? That's the hard part. How do you find them? And the most common answer, the most prevalent answer, is you look to the material world for it, right? People have done this exact same hamster wheel chase for the past 3,000 years. It's what the Buddha's warned us about. It's what Jesus has warned us about. It's what all these enlightened people have warned us about. For me personally, I have been very influenced by Taoist ideals, right? Yin and yang, right? Man and woman, left and right, tall and short. You realize the world is created by dualities, right and wrong, yes or no. And the human suffering, the condition of human suffering, comes from separation, comes from the attachment to one pole. So if you're attached to seeking love, then the other pole of that is that you don't have love. When you that is literally the hamster wheel, because you're chasing your own tail, right? I don't have love, therefore I must seek love. I don't have love, therefore I must seek love. I don't have love, therefore I must seek love. I don't have love. When you don't have the self-awareness, the metacognition, to recognize you thinking your own thoughts and how your spiral, your loop of thoughts creates your own conditions in your life, then you will literally spend God knows how long, could be days, years, months. Most commonly, it can be decades easily, because you're running on the same loop. You're running on the same thought pattern over and over and over of, I must make more money. What is the flip side of that? Because I don't have enough. I must find a relationship. What is the flip side of that? Because I don't feel loved. For every heads, there's a tails. And we chase the heads without realizing we're really chasing the tail. Now, it sounds like I'm kind of talking in circles, right? And that's because I am talking in circles. That's the funny thing about this whole thing, is that when you are on this, right, the Buddha called it the wheel of samsara, the cycle of life and death, the cycle of desire, the wheel of suffering. And it is the analogous representation of the Taoist yin and yang, spinning around. Yin chases yang, yang chases yin, right? It's thrilling. The chase is thrilling, right? The chase, think about relationships, finding love, dating, the man chasing the woman or the woman chasing the man. It's thrilling, And it's almost like, it's so thrilling that majority of people get so addicted and caught up to the chase, they never know how to get off the wheel. Same thing with money, right? Same thing with addiction, cigarettes, drinking. You puff one, oh my God, it makes me feel so alive. And I'm speaking about this from personal experience too, right? Having tried various vices, it's like you see the patterns of how they get you, and you realize the cycle of suffering is the same pattern. And the Buddha said this 3,000 years ago, man. So in an age where we have godlike technology, medieval institutions, and Paleolithic emotions, right? That's a quote I believe it's by E.O. Wilson. I've always loved that quote because it's just spot on. We are primal animals inside medieval institutions creating godlike technology. It's like handing a monkey a nuke. And that is literally what we're doing. First with nuclear weapons and now with AI. But what was our original point that we're talking about here? The cycle of suffering has been the same for all of human history. It has never changed. And enlightened leaders like the Buddha have been telling us, warning us about this. But nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to listen. Oh, but what about my worries? And what about this? And what about that? And, See, most people are truly never present. That's why they don't understand this. To truly understand this, you have to be present inside this present moment. Because if you're living for the future or you're living in the past, and that's where most people live, they don't know how to be present because they're stuck in suffering. They're stuck in the chase, right? The future, the promise of the future, or the pain of the past. Got to run away from the past, run away from the past. They're addicted to the chase. When you're addicted to the chase, you will never find peace. Think about, what is lust? Right? You get for a man, You can get so caught up in tail, in pussy, in getting the next piece of meat, you know? And porn has obviously exacerbated this. I used to be addicted to porn. The chase, right? The future attainment. Oh, when I finally nut, when I release, then I'll be satisfied, right? When I finally, then I'll be satisfied. That is where the devil lives. When I make enough money, oh my God. When I control the fucking world, that is where the devil lives. And when you're permanently living in the future, when you live your life unpresent, only suffering is when you live unpresent and only chase the future because it's the only thing you know how to do. So your present state is absolute hell, but you think chasing the future will promise you something, will promise you heaven. Oh, once I buy that home, once I make this money, once I clap those cheeks, you know. Now you're gonna realize that on this series, right? I'm just being myself, okay? At times I can be very serious. Other times I'm just going complete fucking retard, okay? Right? I want to make this playful but serious at the same time. Because we need yin and yang. Again, it's like we need to both be serious and playful. Because we can't be attached to being too serious. Then we're just fucking miserable cunts. We can't be too playful because then we're just circus clowns, right? We have to be both simultaneously miserable cunts and circus clowns. And that is when charisma comes out, right? Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. The wheel of suffering. The wheel of suffering. I've talked about this loop now for 19 minutes. About 19 minutes. The question has become, how do you get off of it? Right? And I'll loop back, funny enough, to the idea of metacognition. Your ability to notice your own thoughts, your ability to notice your own emotions as they arise. Because most people lack the ability to notice what is coming up for them internally, inside their body, inside their nervous system, inside their mind, inside their emotions. Instead of being in control of themselves, they are being controlled by, what is it? Right? Where do your emotions arise from? Where do that like anxious, like tenseness in your neck and your heart and in your shoulders, where does that come from? Right? Have you ever noticed it? The better you get at noticing it, the happier you become. And you start to realize so many of the things you want in life, whether it's money, whether it's love, whether it's happiness, perhaps most importantly, peace. You start to discover what peace really means. Because you stop being attached to this plane that is this material world. You know, material things are nice and you still enjoy them. Dude, I'm a materialist maximalist, okay? I like nice things. I love being intentional, right? It's like, why do you think I built out this space so that I could just love it, you know? But at the same time, right? Why did Christ say, lay not up your treasures where rust and moth doth dust corrupt? I butchered that. This is what he's saying. You are priceless. Love is priceless. Love is worth more than any amount of gold in the world. And if you've experienced real love, and I hope you have, right, in an intimate relationship, it's like nothing compares to love. right? All the money in the world can't even compare. But how do you get to that state of love? I'm telling you, if you're single right now, or if you're in a relationship, it was never about the relationship. It was never about the money. It was about love, finding love within yourself. First of all, you must love yourself. Do you respect yourself? If you loved yourself, you would respect yourself. Do you take care of yourself, right? Do you take care of your body? Do you say nice things to yourself? Because you realize the world is a mirror. This is why I said your thoughts create reality. What you say to yourself projects into what you speak into the world. So how you treat yourself, and none of what I'm saying is anything new. People have said this, blah, blah. Oh my God. When you treat yourself well, treating the world well becomes the byproduct, right? The mistake we make is trying to change the world when we can't even change ourselves, when we're trying to control the world when we can't even control ourselves. We're trying to create world peace when we don't even have peace within ourselves. Love and peace first must arise from within, then we can spread it outward. Thank you for joining me on this very first episode of Reality Architecture. I'm going to just do more of these. I just set up this studio, with the lighting, with the microphone, with the camera, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so handsome. And God, honestly, I've wanted to do something like this for years. The loops in my head, self-doubt, and all of this, it stopped me, right? We are our own worst enemies. And this podcast, this series is going to be about how do we become from our worst enemies to our best fucking lovers? How do we love ourselves like how life depends on it? It's a good book, by the way, right? Because if you can love yourself like nothing else matters, then you will take yourself to unforeseen places. Right? The peace, the happiness, the joy, the wealth, and I truly believe this because my philosophy for life that I've come to over studying all of this spirituality, self-improvement, fitness, and all of this over the years has been, you must enjoyment max the way to your fucking dreams. If you don't enjoy your life on the way to everything you want, then you're living in hell because, again, like I said, the future is a promise. Oh my God, why did Christ say, what's that tomorrow line? There is no tomorrow. Live now. Live now. Make your life heaven now. Strive from heaven state rather than hell state. You walk around, you realize most people strive from hell state, and it's out of fear and insecurity and misalignment and lack. But there's another way to do it. Strive from heaven state, strive from abundance, strive from love, strive from happiness, strive from joy, strive from passion, strive from inspiration. And I'm telling you, the discipline becomes irrelevant because you're pulled by a force that's bigger than you. Okay. Enough yapping for me for this episode. I'm going to end it here. I hope you found this helpful to your success and happiness, and I'm really excited to get this thing really kicked off. Until next time, see you in the next one.